Hello and welcome back to the Shmuseum, and more specifically, welcome back to the Mezzanine.
No, Tom. The comments have spoken. This is now known as the Schmezzanine.
Yes, a number of you guys in the comments of the last video were referring to this as the Schmezzanine. Well, in the last couple of videos of the installation of this going up, and it probably is quite a fitting name given that we're in the Shmuseum, the Schmezzanine. I don't know I'll be taking that one up. It just seems much easier to call it the Mez, but Brad's definitely with you on that one.
Definitely am.
Now, today, it feels really weird being up here and you being down there.
It actually looks a bit like some kind of game show where you're the host, you've just walked along and now you're in the center where you need to stand for the show. Contestants are going to come out to maybe play football because we have a few, have more footballs.
Speaking of game show, your prize today, Brad, is the Audi RS3 Saloon in Turbo Blue, our long-termer from Audi UK, because today we're going to be getting that one out on the road and giving you both mine and Brad's opinions after we've now lived with the car for around about 6 months, done around 6,000 miles. It's been through winter tyres, it's now on summer tyres, so I think between the two of us we've got quite a good understanding of what that's about now, enough to tell you what we do and don't like about it. So I think at some point we need to get that out on the road. But there are a couple of bits to do before we do, so I think we should crack on.
Before we properly get started with the day, we should probably talk about the state of the RS3 and the M3.
Yes, I've been dailying this, well, literally since the day Tim went away, and it's safe to say I've got it quite filthy with the weather we've had, so sorry Tim, I'll get that cleaned before you're back.
I think we're going to have to do the same with this. We had a rainstorm mixed with a dust storm, I believe from the Sahara Desert. I don't know how it's found its way to the UK, but it's left a orangey brown film of dirt all over the cars, which is not nice. However, if you fancy winning a clean RS3 of your own, you can do for less than £2 with BOTB.com, who've been running car competitions since 1999, which, that's the same age as me.
Oh, that makes me feel old. But the guys at BOTB surprised 2 winners every single week, and if you wanted to enter, tickets for the Vorsprung Saloon are just £1.75 and the Sportback are just £1.55.
And if an RS3 isn't quite your thing and you prefer maybe an RS4, a bit more practical, or maybe an R8 for a supercar, e-tron, BOTB have over 20 different Audi models. Now the link's down in the description, get clicking and BOTB could be turning up at your house with a brand new RS3 next week. Welcome to the office.
The world is changing, and if we stand still, we become dinosaurs. Marek Reichman. Now, he is currently Chief Creative Officer at Aston Martin, and that's the quote that is now on the plate, SH09 MEE, which will be going on to the Aston Martin DBS, as Tim has sent me a message to say that he's retained the old plate, My 11 DBS, so I guess we'll have to figure out what we're going to do with that one, as it's of no use to us really, and this is the one that's going to be going on. Now, I don't know why Tim has chosen this quote, and I'm sure he'll explain to us in due course, but given that in this world of, you know, very technologically advanced cars, it seems quite fitting given that you could argue the Aston Martin DBS, things like the V8 Vantage, are dinosaurs in this world now. So I think we're going to be getting this on, and there's actually been a point of debate here between me and Tim, and actually Brad as well, which is, as you can see, Tim has bought a regular rectangular plate to go on the back of the DBS. Now at the moment, the one that's on it fits the lines of the boot lid, and I think looks a lot better, and Brad also thinks that's the way to go. Tim thinks the standard plate is. So we're going to get that one off, get this on, and then once you've seen, we want you guys to let us know what you think down in the comments below. Would you have gone for the standard plate, or would you go for the shaped one?
Can I go back to what I was going to mention as well now?
Sorry, did I cut you off?
Yeah, a little bit. We have a gift for Tim. If you guys know what this is, then keep it to yourself, because we don't think Tim will.
I don't think he's going to have any idea what that is.
But this is going on his desk. If you know, you know. If you don't, Google that and you'll know what it's for. And yeah, we'll have to update you on this when Tim is back.
And Tim, if you're watching the preview of this before it goes live,
don't Google.
Don't Google that. Just be surprised for once.
Right, let's go and get some startups.
Yep.
And get these fitted.
Ooh, cold starts. Yes.
Here we go then. Time for a GT8 cold start, because quite clearly we can't reach, I don't know where those plates are going. We can't reach the DBS plates I mean,
You probably could.
almost. We should probably put the lift down, and obviously we cannot do that with this sitting right behind it. So,
Speaking of number plates,
what is that?
I think the plate might have fell off the back of the Clio.
Okay, and
somehow has ended up on the back of the GT8 wing.
Yeah, I might have put it there the other day and forgot that I put it there. But
So we'll get that restuck whilst we're on number plate duties.
Anyway,
but we need to take this off the smart charger, and you've got to be a bit careful here, because one thing we have noticed, I'll lower that so you can see me again, is that if you was just to go all the way up, you probably would knock a wing.
So I'll come through here.
Yeah, I mean, not a problem on regular cars. You know, it's only going to be these things with silly big wings that are going to be an issue. But I think what we'll do at some point is maybe get a bit of foam just up here, just as a fail-safe. And also, probably helps if you close the boot properly as well.
It would. Right, so we should swap positions. You're going to jump in. Look at that precision. Oh, that's really satisfying. Kind of unnerving sometimes, but
yeah. But when you know it's okay, then it's all good.
Yeah, cool. So you jump in. I'm going to come right round to the back and get ready for some glorious V8. Oh, that sounds so good. So good. We're going to have to take this out for another drive soon. That noise is just so infectious. You just get so addicted to that glorious V8 roar. Yeah, maybe we do a lunch run soon. Right, keep coming forward, Tom, keep coming forward, and that's absolutely perfect. Lift should come down nice and safe away from the GT8. Maybe we move it a little bit further forward, but we'll figure that out in a second, and then we can get cracking with the number plates. As you can see, we did move it forward a little bit more because it was, I think, a bit too close for comfort.
Just a tiny bit. So I think now it's time we're going to drop our Benpack Auto Stacker down with the DBS. And do you know what I've not yet done? Unlocked it. So we're due an alarm to go off. Well, not now.
Right, I think with some editing magic, we'll come back to this when it's on the ground. So in 3, 2, 1.
Now that is a cool view with the little vantage with the really wide arches out in front, and then this here at the back. And whilst we've got it down, I guess we should give this a cold start.
Well, we don't need to, Tom, because it's not, we can do the plates on the ramp and that's in the way.
It's a 6-litre V12. Why wouldn't you cold start it?
Okay, well, I'll come back around to the back. And then, yeah, once you shut your door, we'll get another cold start.
I don't need to for that one. We'll, I want to hear this in all its glory.
True, I'm not trying to cut you off from hearing it. Right, cold start. That's a sweet sound.
It is, it's a lovely noise. It's that deep, grumbly V12, you know, not like the Lusso with the very high-pitched, high-revving V12. It's a much lazier engine, but still a lovely noise. Anyway, let's get the plates changed. Okay, so I've just removed the C-Tech Smart Charger for, well, no real reason actually, but here we can see what I was talking about in the office with the plate that fits to the lines of where the plate cutout is. What do we? The plate recess.
The plate
recess. There we go.
I'm not normally a fan of this kind of plate.
I'm not. No, you quite often see them from various companies in weird shapes and sizes, and they just don't look right. But for some reason,
it just looks really smart.
It fits the lines of the car. I think it's quite classy. But I guess in a moment we'll see what it looks like with the standard rectangular plate. And then, as I said, you guys let us know down in the comments. Do you agree with me and Brad? Should we bully Tim into getting SH09 on this style plate, or do we stick with the standard one? What do you think? So I've just realised the benefit of the shaped plate over a standard rectangular one. I can't even speak at the moment. Which is, well, there's no risk of it being out of line or too high or too low, which you could easily do with this. I guess there's almost some personal preference in where exactly you stick it, apart from getting it straight, of course. So, Tim, I hope I get it right.
Time for an update, and we have SH09 MEE on the back of the DBS.
I don't like it.
You look very unimpressed and disappointed. And to be honest, so am I.
Yeah, it just doesn't
It
just doesn't
quite
look right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just, you've just got so much gap down here, and you know, as a general rule, if we, you know, just have a quick look at the V8 Vantage here, as a general rule, cars have the space for the shape of the plate. Obviously in the USA it would be a slightly shorter, taller space, and generally the plate just fits right in.
I think the
same is the same on the C63. So all of a sudden, to have this huge space and just that, it just looks plonked in the middle. It looks unfinished.
We should probably remove our very small spirit level to make sure it stays straight. So if you do see this car out on the road, hopefully the plate is level and not wonky.
No, hopefully the plate is in the shape of this, because Tim has realised that me and Brad are right, and hopefully all of you guys agree down in the comments, and all of you are right, and he's conceded and gone with one of these.
Should we just revert this? Just put it back on.
Yeah, should we just go back to...
Oh, it just looks so much better. Yeah, leave that there.
does.
Right, let's go and do the front. For some reason, we haven't pointed this out yet, and I know it came back in the previous video, but Ford GT is still here, looking very, very good. I'm just sort of doing this while Tom is over there preparing the front plate.
Tim did ask me to take a car to his house while he's away. Do we drop him the Ford GT? I mean, we need to go out for lunch, right?
Yeah, I might have made this joke about taking this out again at some point, but yeah, maybe we take him a Ford GT.
Who knows?
There we go, front plate done. It now matches the majority of the other Schmeemobiles with the SH09 MEE number plates.
It does, and at least there's no argument about the shape of the front plate. It's only the rear one. Now, of course, that does mean we have, well, we have a spare plate, I guess, MY11 DBS, so...
I don't think Tim's buying another DBS.
No, and if he did, it would go onto another Shmee plate. So I guess if any of you guys out there have a DBS and would be interested in the plate, or if you'd be interested and you don't have a DBS, give me a DM on Instagram and we'll see if we can put something together. But anyway, as we said, today we're going to be talking about what we do and don't like about our long-termer, the RS3. So I guess we should get on the road. And Brad, I'm going to give you the honours first. Let's get behind the wheel. All right, so...
Time for a cold start, I guess.
Yes, cold start.
We're going straight into it.
You're going to jump behind the wheel first.
More importantly, we should go ignition on, pop it into individual, and seeing as the weather is so nice, I know you're not filming me, but seeing as the weather is so nice, sunroof's got to be open, right?
Do you know what? That's actually one of the things I was going to talk about in our mini review, shall we say. So we'll save that for a moment, but let's get this started. There we go, that lovely 5-cylinder warble. Just, I'm going to stop saying anything, or I'm just going to end up saying all of my points before we've left.
We're going to do everything we need to talk about now, but I'm going to jump behind the wheel. Let's go.
Let's go. So we've headed out to, I think, a very typical British B road, and as we said, Brad is behind the wheel.
Of course, and I think this car is... It's such a good cruiser. I think we rewind it to the start. So Tim and myself flew out to Munich in Germany to collect this. We then did a road trip around Europe and eventually ended up back at the Shmuseum. And it did that so well. Just to be able to get in, stick on cruise control and fly down the autobahns and the motorways and highways around Europe was perfect. But this car really holds its own on a British B road, which very shortly we're about to make a right turn onto, hopefully, a rather nice road. So I think from my end, we're going to pop the car here into its sport display. So I think we can have tyre pressures, but maybe we'll have power and torque, and also going to pop it into individual and into manual. And then we'll make this right turn and find a lovely bit of tarmac to drive on. So we need to talk about 3 things that we dislike and 3 things that we like. And I think we'll start with what we like. And there's so many things. Exterior is obviously a big thing, but we'll talk about that when we stop and swap over so Tom can drive. But I think my favourite thing about this car is the way it sounds. That 5-pot is such an iconic engine, and the fact that you still get some of that sound now is just great. With all the OPFs and filters and all the regulations coming out, you do start to lose how good some of the cars sound. M3, for example, maybe doesn't sound as good as the previous one. But this does hold that sound, as I can prove to you with a slight acceleration. Hopefully there's not too much wind noise from the sunroof open. Like we said, the weather outside today is just perfect, really. Blue skies, few clouds, sun has been out, and feeling the warmth of the sun on us for the first time in a long time is just so nice. So my next thing that I like about this car, so we've had it on winter tyres obviously, as we had to bring it out of Europe, and now we're back onto some summers, and it really transformed the car. Just the way that you can throw it into a corner and it grips, it sticks. If you put it into RS Torque rear, you can feel the back end just pull itself around, and it just handles them so well. And on a road like this, it's just, you cannot beat it. You cannot beat it. We've had this out as well with the M3. We've been out for drives with me in this, Tom in the M3, just to sort of get that comparison of how do the two saloons, I guess, in the garage compare themselves, and they both do it really well. But there's something about this that you can come around a corner and plant your foot and it just goes. We've got a cyclist. Right, we're past the cyclist, so let's go back to where we were. It's the fact you can come around a corner like this, nice and civilized, and then plant your foot up to the speed limit and it just goes. You don't need to ease into it necessarily. I mean, if it's wet, you don't want to obviously plant it straight away every time, but just dropping down the gears, getting some of that sound. It's just something so special about that combination, sound and the way it drives. Right, a final thing that I like about this car. Now, there's two. I'm going to combine into both. Panoramic roof. Having a sunroof, I drive a convertible, so having a panoramic roof that opens is great, but also the heated seats. I love a heated seat, and we say it all the time that if a car has a heated seat, I'm happy. This has it, I'm happy. Anyway, I think we should find somewhere to stop really, swap over, talk about the exterior stuff we like, maybe mention a few dislikes when we're there as well, and then Tom, you can jump behind the wheel.
Sure, sounds like a plan. Let's carry on.
We've found somewhere to stop, and we're just gonna have a quick run through of exterior, what I like, and again, a few small dislikes. There's not too much that I sort of disapprove of on this car. It's a very good all-rounder. You can get in, you can drive it hard, you can drive it soft, you just get in and go and it does what you need. Obviously, excuse the dirt all over it. A few things I like how aggressive they've made this front end. Large grille, which seems to be a common theme with manufacturers nowadays. The lights, let me just unlock it. I love this, RS3. Oh, you can actually see it for the first time. I think that's the first time I've actually managed to catch that on camera. Small, nerdy detail, love it. Matrix LEDs, obviously, they are great at night. The wheels, compared to some of the designs of older RS models and the RS3 models, I think these are lovely. What else do we have? Obviously, around the back, we have the large oval exhaust tips either side, which, again, in my opinion, looks great. Now, a few dislikes. First of all, being, for me personally, the seats. Now, I just find they don't hug you quite as well as some other cars, and even the RS5 we had, that had a little adjuster here, which means you could pull these sort of side bolsters in to hug you in a bit better. These don't really do that, so yeah, that's one small dislike my end. Time for a driver change.
Yep, I'm going to jump behind the wheel and we're going to see what I think of this thing from the driver's seat. But before we do, while we're on the outside, before we left the barn, I mentioned the sunroof and I said I'd come back to that. Now, it's wonderful having it and it's lovely just to be able to have that open air feeling. And especially with the light coming through, it just gives the cabin so much more of an airy feeling.
Especially with weather like this as well.
Yes, as we said, whenever Tim's away, the weather comes out. So thank you for going away once again, Tim. But the problem I have with it is you then end up with effectively this glass table that just looks plonked on the roof and it just looks out of place to me. Maybe I'm being overly critical, but I feel it could have been designed slightly better than that. Anyway, it may not be the most visually pleasing thing in the world, but it does the job, and more crucially, it does drive quite well. So let's get behind the wheel.
Tom is now behind the wheel, so I guess time for your sort of driving impressions, any likes and dislikes about the car while driving.
So before we even get to driving, I'm going to start with something I'm not the biggest fan of, which is what you hold here, the steering wheel. Now, unlike BMWs, it's not hugely thick, so you don't feel, you know, like you're a gorilla holding on to a massive log, which in a BMW, as weird as a description as that is, you kind of do. It's nice and thin, which is great. However, it's round. Now, I'm sure a lot of people would actually be quite a fan of that, because we do get some very odd shaped steering wheels these days, but typically in an Audi RS model, you get a nice flat bottom steering wheel. And if you go for the base level RS3, and I think even the carbon black edition, you do get the flat bottom wheel. But in the Vorsprung, or the launch edition as we've got here, you end up with this flat wheel, which doesn't feel quite as special, which is maybe something I'd kind of apply just to the whole of the interior. I think I expected just a little bit more specialness over and above, you know, a regular Audi A3, which I feel is slightly lost. However, talking of the steering, it is incredibly direct, very responsive, and the car goes exactly where you tell it to. If you come up to a corner, it's intuitive, very much so. You just know exactly how much lock is going to be needed to get it round to the corner. However, as is the case with most things these days, there's not much communication or feedback, and it's quite dead in your hands. It doesn't really give you any indication as to what the front wheels are doing. But as I said, that's the case of most modern electric power steering systems these days, so it's not really a fault we can apply specifically to the RS3. I think another thing that's incredibly impressive is the quality of the damping. It's very, very good at dealing with even quite major imperfections in the road, and it irons out all of the minor ones, which again, for an RS product, you probably expect it to be a little bit on the firmer side, but it really isn't. It's really comfortable, really compliant, and is phenomenal for getting down a B road like this. I think I'd probably put the same sort of title on this I used to previously give to the Mark 7.5 Golf R, which is the best bank job car. Now, not that hopefully any of you guys are going out doing bank jobs, but if you were, this is the kind of car you'd want. You can literally put your foot down coming out of any corner, any bend, in any situation, and it just goes. And frankly, probably end up getting in quite a lot of trouble with something like this. As Brad said, we've had this out on occasion with the M3, and where the M3 is just struggling to put down its power and just lighting up the rear wheels, this is just right there. It doesn't struggle at all. So in terms of the way it gets down the road, big tick. Now, one thing I do want to touch on as well very briefly is fuel economy. Now again, maybe not something you should be concerned about when buying an RS product, but equally, if you're buying a car like this, it's going to be to use every single day. So it is going to be something that you take into account in your buying considerations, shall we say. Now, me and Brad have obviously been out today on some nice British B roads, and we've not exactly been taking it easy, shall we say. And we've been giving this thing some stick around the corners, and it's still been averaging over 22 miles to the gallon. And I've actually commuted with this as well when we've done longer runs out as a team, such as heading up to McGurk's to go and drop off the V8 Vantage Roadster for service. This has averaged over 35 miles to the gallon. The best I think I've personally seen is 36.2, which again, for a 2.5 litre 5-cylinder with 400 horsepower nearly on tap, that's really, really impressive, and ultimately means it is something you can use every single day. Now obviously, in doing so, you do need to resist the urge to keep your foot out of it, which is very difficult. But if you are just cruising and commuting, it's really economical, it's really comfortable, and then at the press of the RS button on the steering wheel, comes to life. And actually, I've got to say, this is really well designed with the way you can cycle through your RS individual and then the RS performance mode, and then straight back into whatever previous drive mode you had it in before, whether that was comfort or efficiency. And that, well, it works a lot better than it does on some other manufacturers, shall we say. There we are, we're now back in the Shmuseum with the RS3 Saloon, and hopefully that's given you a bit of an insight into what it's been like to live with over the past 6,000 miles from myself and Brad. And obviously, it's not meant to be a full in-depth journalistic review, just more some of the things we've loved and some of the things we haven't liked as much after our few months of living with it. Now, one thing I would just like to touch on is the price, because the Vorsprung model of this comes in at £62,000 on the road. Now, as much as that's very comparable to its nearest rival, the Mercedes A45S, If you add the carbon brake upgrade on, which is another £5,000, this is nearer 67, maybe £68,000 by the time you've put your options on it. And at that point, well, an M3 is only £75,000. Now, I appreciate there's still a huge difference between those, but considering most cars like this are bought on lease deals or finance agreements, depending on your individual circumstances, of course, and your deposit amount, that may only be a couple £100 a month difference, which you're then in an entire another category of car. So I think that's one thing just to be aware of. Certainly not saying it isn't worth every single penny, but you're only then a slight step up from another category, I feel, in terms of cost. Brad, I don't know if you agree or disagree with me on that one.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you look at it in short, it seems like a lot of money, but you do get a hell of a lot of car for the money. You do,
and that's fair to say. Obviously, right from the lovely wheels, we've even got the dynamic centre caps on this one. Huge 6-pot brakes up front. As we said, the suspension and the damping quality is absolutely phenomenal. And as much as I touched on the interior maybe not being quite as special as I would have anticipated, it is a lovely place to be with the quilted stitched seating. And it's just very refined. And it's got your wireless Apple CarPlay. There's pretty much no situation so far that has flummoxed it. It's been able to do everything, right?
And obviously we have Quattro, which is just so good. 400 brake horsepower, 500 newton meters of torque.
All weather conditions, again, right through from you guys having it in Europe on winter tyres in the snow, right through now to, this lovely 15-degree weather. I know it's warmer in other places around the world, but this is pretty much as good as it gets here. 15-degree weather in the sunshine, and it's still... I haven't yet found a situation where it comes unstuck, where it feels not quite finished or not quite ready for that, whether it's carrying things, whether it's taking people out, whether it's just going down a B road and having fun, it's always right there.
I think between us, we've used it for almost every situation possible. Like you say, running to the shops to pick up some groceries,
running family around,
taking Will's places, whatever it may be, this car has done it in our time with it.
And again,
it has done it really well.
For such a compact car, I mean, that just keeps going.
And then fold the rear seats, you are fitting as much stuff as you need.
Yeah.
So I think in general, the Audi RS3 Saloon gets a big tick from both of us.
It does indeed.
And I think we need to figure out what we're doing next, because we've just come back, obviously, from our drive. I guess it's getting this clean at some point, whether we do that now, later, I don't know, but...
I'm just so reluctant because, again, the roads are still a little bit wet and dirty in places, and I just kind of know that, knowing our luck, we'll clean this and get it all nice and shiny and immediately go for a puddle.
Or another dust, Sahara, desert storm thing will hit, and then it'll be this colour again.
Because let's be honest, the last day we had a glorious day of sunshine. The next day we got Sahara rain, and now we've had a glorious day of sunshine. So tomorrow, kind of expecting more Sahara rain. I may be wrong, but let's see what happens. But yeah, at some point we do need to get this clean. I promise we will do it, Tim. I think that pretty much wraps up everything here for today at the Shmuseum. And as you may be able to tell, me and Brad have spent the last hour or so playing football here.
No, Tom, you're not meant to tell people that we just get rid of that.
Right, yes, we have been playing football for the past hour, guys. But Tim, if you're watching, Brad's been editing videos and I've been planning the upcoming movements with the Schmeemobiles.
Yeah,
honest.
Good. Nice.
There we go. We've covered ourselves. Right. Now, that, as I said, wraps up everything here for today. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed mine and Brad's ramblings on what we think about our long-term Audi RS3 Saloon. And hopefully, if one of you guys was considering one or one of its rivals, maybe that's given you some insight into what it's like to live with. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed. And once again, until next time.